Okay, so let's set the stage for this a little bit here. As of tomorrow, it'll have been 1 month since our first little outing of the rumor of Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. That's when it really started to gain traction, and that's when we did our first video about Modern Warfare 2 Remastered in a serious sense. Up until that point in time, we only had small inklings of rumors and air quote information on the game's reveal. The most we'd ever seen before that was just full-blown clickbait articles that would mention why it would be logical and from a profitable sense, be a solid idea to do it. Nothing that ever pointed to fact-based information that it would actually be happening from credible sources. Again, that is until 1 month ago. 1 month ago, Amazon Italy listed a COD Modern Warfare 2 Remastered as coming to PlayStation 4 for €20 or $25. It said that it was shipping and releasing on April 30th, and here we are 15 days out from that date, and we have absolutely nothing to show for it. However, we did at some point have something, and it's easy to dismiss this particular instance of Amazon Italy's listing as a fake until you dig a little further into the days that followed after this. At that point, there were 4 independent and prominently known sources in the gaming industry, them being Kotaku, Eurogamer, Charlie Incel, and Marcus Sellers, and they each individually confirmed their knowledge of Modern Warfare 2 Remastered without consulting each other at all. So they were all independent of each other, 4 independent sources with deep ties in the industry that furthered the at the time truth of Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, and those reports for that stated that it would be campaign only. Now, naturally, the entire community was up in arms about this, and rightfully so. This is the most iconic multiplayer of the franchise, arguably, and releasing it without MP would make almost no sense at all. Even if you want to release it and not take away from Sledgehammer's content cycle of World War II, I can understand the thought process behind it, but I would never think that it would get to the point of not releasing multiplayer for a game that big in the franchise. But here's the thing, it gets incredibly interesting because there is way more to this story than meets the eye. A lot of people will see these and say, you know what, they're trying to lie to us, they're trying to deceive us, but there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. And the one thing that I mentioned, because there was a lot of Twitter arguments that happened in my mentions, because I got tagged into some discussions and everything like that, the one thing I don't think people necessarily think about is that whenever these places come out with these stories, if their sources and credibility have all lined up in the past, chances are that if they are reporting it, they have done their own digging, they have their own trustworthy sources from this, and those sources, you can't just necessarily give them up, because sources do get burned, that's journalism 101, and in this particular instance, there may or may not have been some burning that already happened. So, simply by saying, hey, reveal your sources, whoever you guys are that are telling this, if the track record is good in the past, you're probably going to be able to believe them more so than a 4chan post by an account that was made a day ago, first and foremost, but then those sources also can't be revealed, otherwise, well, you won't have any more credible information coming in the future. But that said, since then we've seen so much in terms of different hype from various different locations that didn't really all turn out to be anything at all. Firstly, we ended up having GDC, which a lot of people thought that that would be happening and something would be shown off there, because if you guys remember, or maybe don't remember, GDC was actually the spot in which Modern Warfare 2 was first officially revealed to the world 9 years ago, so that was something a lot of people were thinking, well, why not come full circle, showcase Modern Warfare 2 Remastered at GDC. That came and went. We thought that Ali might have had something to do with that because he kind of blew up in Modern Warfare 2 and became a poster child of Call of Duty at that time. We ended up having Kevin Kelly of Activision and the Activision live streams talking about how there was going to be some interesting announcements coming up in the next week or two at those points whenever those streams happened, one of which turned out to be World War II DLC 2, which honestly, I thought from the beginning that that was going to happen. It simply just fit the time frame of when marketing for DLC 2 would have started, and then the other one ended up being the Spyro Remastered, so Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, once again, was out on the street and didn't really have anything hinting towards it. So my thoughts as of thinking about this even further is, what if Modern Warfare 2 Remastered was delayed or even canceled? So first things first, to kind of back this thought up. Again, these sources, these 4 independent sources said it was gonna be happening. I believe them, I know some of them personally, and I've talked to them about this, but I firmly believe that Modern Warfare 2 Remastered at one point in time, whoever was developing, I firmly believe that it was going to be happening at one point in time. But then we end up seeing all this information come out, somebody leaks it out to the press, we start getting all these reports coming here and there of everything, and then of course, the community gains traction with it, and it just starts to fester a little bit and blow up out to where it was now, where everybody would have been upset if Modern Warfare 2 Remastered was launched or even revealed to have no multiplayer. I just feel like that would have been detrimental. So with looking at community reaction, maybe that's something that really stemmed the whole idea of, wow, maybe we shouldn't do this, maybe we should put this off to the side, maybe we should delay it and make sure that multiplayer is a part of it and release it at some later point in time. That's something that I guess we will never know exactly the reasoning for, but it's very, very interesting to me that, again, 4 people in companies prominently known in the gaming industry for having inside information, they end up saying that it's gonna happen, and then we're 15 days out and we still don't see a single thing. And that was always the very interesting part to me, is this entire situation, we had a lot of, once again, credible sources coming out and saying this will happen, and everything seemed to be pushing towards the fact that it was confirmed within the community, but then we still had nothing to say for. The only thing that we were missing was that official announcement from Activision, from whoever the developing studio was for this, and that was always something that was odd to me. And if this hunch is right that it was canceled, well, maybe we never even know. Maybe this is one of the biggest changes that we'd ever see in Call of Duty that really was never confirmed, but behind the scenes, who knows? It's something that is, of course, very interesting to me, and we may never perhaps have the answers unless this just drops out of nowhere. Maybe that's another thing in which it's just the hype that they don't want to build up, and then they just drop it on the 30th as campaign only, as a $20 special or something like that. I still don't think that would be the best way to go, and honestly, if I were to say what you should do in this sort of situation, if it was happening, if all of this is confirmed, it wouldn't be a bad idea to either delay it or cancel it entirely, because I firmly believe that if this were to launch without multiplayer, I think that even the reveal trailer for that would get more dislikes than the Infinite Warfare trailer. The record-setting number of dislikes with Infinite Warfare, I think that would be broken with a Modern Warfare 2 Remastered campaign-only special that would be released. So again, I think that it really all comes down to perception. I think that would really harm the brand, but the one thing that I really start to think about afterwards is that whenever we started having all this information about Modern Warfare 2 Remastered come out in the first place, it really got me thinking, why now? Why is Modern Warfare 2 Remastered being theoretically released in the middle of the lifespan of a game, and also right before a game of Treyarch? Not Infinity Ward, why Treyarch? Why is it such an odd time to release this? To which I got thinking, well, maybe it's campaign only for Modern Warfare 2 this year, Modern Warfare 3 next year, and then October or November, whenever they decide to launch the game next year for Infinity Ward's next title, maybe that's Modern Warfare 4. So we had Modern Warfare Remastered, Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, Modern Warfare 3 Remastered, and then you pick up where a story can leave off. And again, I know many people will say that that's not possible. You already finished everything up. You tied loose ends up with Makarov, but personally, I'd love to go back and hunt down the Shadow Company, because again, we have this whole cabal with Modern Warfare 2 and General Shepard, that once you take Shepard out, it's kind of just assumed that the whole cabal and that whole Shadow organization is taken out. You never really hear much of them again, but I think that would be a perfect little way to get this. But the thing is if this was canceled, that might throw a whole monkey wrench in that entire situation, that entire theory. Because if you end up delaying that, well, again, it throws off the entire course of events, where you'd have an April or May release of this year, April and May release of next year, and then 6 months later for that launch of Modern Warfare 4. So again, this kind of just throws everything off the loop, and I think the real big thing that I'm coming to terms with is that I'm just incredibly curious and totally in the dark for what may be happening. And that is where this whole conversation stems, and where I think that's interesting that we can take a look at what may happen and what may not. Because again, we've had everything up until this point showcase what may very well be a Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, but the only thing we were ever missing was that official confirmation. So the ways that I can see this going are a couple of different ways. One, we are right in our hunch that this was delayed or canceled, to which maybe we end up seeing it later on in the year, but again, I don't know how that would work out entirely, because you have Black Ops 4 hype coming up, you have the reveal next month, then you have probably what may be a beta sometime in the summer, and then you have an earlier release than ever before seen in Call of Duty history, in an October release, not a November release. So you have that would really conflict with any time potentially to release it outside of this late April release, or maybe it's not delayed in the sense, and we end up just seeing it drop out of nowhere on the 30th in about 2 weeks time, to which that will probably once again be a very big surprise to a lot of people, but it probably will only be campaign only. If you end up taking a look at how the development of things works, if it seriously is only campaign only at that point from a month ago, there's no way a multiplayer system from the ground up can be built in 1 month to be an adequate representation of not only what Modern Warfare 2 was back in the day, but also still up to today's standards. As much as it would be great, you'd still need way more firepower than maybe even all 3 main developers working together on one system to make it something worth playing on a 1 month build. But perhaps it just does not come at all. And that is again where it really becomes interesting, and I honestly Would love to just fast forward a couple of months and see what the verdict of this ends up being, but I know that that's not how that works out. You can't just do that, so I guess we're left to wonder at this point in time. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to you guys because I think this is a very interesting topic of discussion, something that we may have actually as a community impacted the entire development and release schedule for a game overall because of what may or may not have happened. A lot of variables are in this conversation, so bear that in mind. All of this is speculative. All of this should be taken with a grain of salt, and in no way, shape, or form is any of this confirmed, especially by official channels, but it's something that we were theoretically very, very close. But I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback. So that said, drop your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Let's get a little conversation here about this going. Do you think that, one, we would have ever had Modern Warfare 2 Remastered? And two, do you think that it was adjusted in terms of a release schedule as a result of the reception due to the leak that happened with the entire idea that Modern Warfare 2 Remastered was actually a thing? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. But that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure to drop a like down below. If you guys aren't new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding Call of Duty World War II, Black Ops 4, and maybe even Modern Warfare 2 Remastered content at some point in time. But if any of it interests you, make sure that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. And if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get connected from outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Instagram, trying to get more active over there as well, so that link is also in the description below. But all that said and out of the way, hope you guys had a fantastic day. Thank you all so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. Take care, and peace.